Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Opposite the Monitor. And today we're going to get into Red Dead Redemption port flooded with dislikes on YouTube because Take Two is out here definitely messing up the entire way we do remasters, man. Like I spoke about this in my last podcast episode. Definitely go check that video out if you want more information on the whole debacle between or the whole debacle with Take Two and the ZMC and everything like that with their specific way of earning money through microtransactions and putting it into a private equity firm. But yeah, man, so they definitely attempted to try to pull a GTA trilogy all over again by giving us some more games that they have not put any effort into. So essentially, man, they go on to kind of give kind of like an overview of what essentially happened. And, it's basically just, Rockstar at it again with, trying to deliver another game, another low tier effort game, I would say, with no any kind of backing behind this. No type of enhancements, essentially a GTA trilogy all over again. Um, and yeah, gamers weren't having it, man. Gamers were not having it. I love the reception to this. I guess originally when when the trailer launched for the remaster, the dislike ratio was 31K to 77K, but I think as of recently as I've checked, that the dislike have increased to like 226,000. Um, so yeah, man, it's bad. Definitely bad. I also want to point out to you guys, excuse for the mic. I'm on vacation now, but essentially, I'll be back on probably in the next week or two. So this video and the next video will probably be you know, low quality mic, but be back and we'll have everything going. But to continue though, they kind of go on to say in addition to the lack of meaningful updates, which something I pointed out earlier, fans are frustrated over the $50 asking price, and this is just ridiculous, man. It's like you charging people $50 for a game you put no effort into. Is essentially just a, there's already been a 4K remaster of Red Dead Redemption with the Undead DLC essentially added to that game. And then you're just basically repackaging that up, and you're not even putting it on current platforms. Like this, this particular, I guess, re-release. I'm not even gonna call it a remake or a remaster or anything like that. It's essentially a re-release. Is just being ported over to PS4 and Nintendo Switch. So you're not even getting it on, you know, current gen consoles as well. There hasn't been any announcement on PC as well. So it's like what a waste again. But despite its excellent gameplay and narrative, Red Dead Redemption was released over 13 years ago. Yeah, it's been that long, and they're trying to charge you $50 for a game that's been out for or a little over a decade now. Um, and it's just getting ridiculous, man. It's like you can catch it on sale, but whoever, many people have played Red Dead Redemption. It's like even if you weren't born during that time, or if you weren't like a teenager or old enough to kind of play those games during that time or whatever, I'm pretty sure that you went back and either purchased the Red Dead Redemption remaster after Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, so that way you can kind of get like a better handle on the story, because essentially Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel, and the original Red Dead Redemption is the next chapter in the story, because it follows John Marston essentially, which he was effectively a kind of like a side character in Red Dead Redemption 2. So I mean, this whole release is just a waste of time, and it's a gimmick. It's not a gimmick, it's a cash grab essentially made by Strauss Zelnick and Take Two. So I'm not really surprised, man. They're still out here trying to re-release games and or like older games that they have, and not actually doing full remakes of their games and stuff. And this is kind of like where I want to get into the comparison of like other companies and other developers like Capcom, who, the way that they have their system and their method set up is to where they can fill in the gaps when you're waiting for the next mainline Resident Evil game. So for example, they give you Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake, and then they give you Resident Evil 8 Village. You know, even prior to those two remakes, they give you Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, right? So then, even into between the gap between Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, they've given you two games that you can kind of jump into that are full remakes from the ground up using their new re-engine, their new RE engine. Um, and essentially, that's kind of like something Rockstar could do. They have the means to do it. They have the team to do it. They have they have the profits and the budget to be able to do something like that. I mean, their games are well outselling anything Capcom is making, essentially, and it's just like this like kind of like lowers my respect for Rockstar and Take Two, especially when it comes to them like trying to monetize the way that they monetize Grand Theft Auto 5 with their microtransactions and shark cards and all this other shit. It's just getting to the point to where it's a little ridiculous. And effectively they could release Red Dead Redemption remaster or no Red Dead Redemption remake, and then also release games like Bully remake and things like that. Like they have a lot of like they could release a remake of Grand Theft Auto 1. So like even in between the times of just like waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 and Grand Theft Auto and between Grand Theft Auto 5 and waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6, they could effectively remake Grand Theft Auto 3 from the ground up, and then do a remake to Grand Theft Auto 4. And then now you have two of those games because it between Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 6, it's been 15 years. It's been a long ass time. It's been a long time since Grand Theft Auto, like between those two games. And I'm just like, or I don't know if it's 15 years. I know for a fact it's over a decade now at this point because it came out. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out when the original PS4 was released. And I think that was back in 2014 or 2013. So it's been over 10 years, and it's just like, this is just getting ridiculous, man. Like, there's ways that you can kind of cater to your audience while having them wait for the next mainline game, but you choose to do low tier effort and then, attempt to defend the reasoning behind you giving low tier effort. It's just ridiculous. So they kind of go on to say that while a PC port could be released later, the announcement suggests that the game will be limited to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch. Fans can watch the trailer above for a good look at the upcoming port. So yeah, man, I mean, the only entertaining thing about that port is the fact that, the dislikes are very heavy on that side. So essentially, man, it's like, you could definitely go ahead and, just get a glimpse at like how Rockstar is slowly decaying from the inside out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just slowly degrading as a studio because of Take Two, because of Strauss Zelnick. It's just if ever since like this whole monetization thing started blowing up and everything like that, man, it's like you start seeing like the degradation of studios that were once great and now they're like going down the drain. So it's more so just like, man, it's getting ridiculous at this point. But yeah, like, but moving on though, man, like, and this will be kind of like an additional thing to Rockstar because we have some more information on it. But Strauss Zelnick, man, they're out here defending their choice to do that, to charge $50 for an essential, repackaging or a port, not and it's just a port, but it's also just like a re-release. So it's just really just like a port, and it's a re-releasing and porting it to PS4 and Nintendo Switch essentially. But he goes on to kind of defend the $50 price tag, and he says that they go on to say that Strauss Zelnick, CEO of Take Two, recently commented on the $50 price tag of the Red Dead Redemption port, and he does not see much wrong with the asking price. Of course, he don't see much wrong with the asking price. You know what I'm saying? He wants to justify the decision that he made so that way he can be able to accumulate as much money as he possibly can, through like Take Two and everything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if they, attempted, like if they attempted to even, well, actually, I wouldn't even think they would do anything extra with it. It would essentially just be like, hey, this is a waste of time. We're not even gonna do it. Just re-release it. Doesn't matter. We're not even gonna remake it. Just re-release it. We want everybody to be working on Grand Theft Auto 6. And I'm just like, you know what, man? It may be time for y'all to like maybe, you know, increase the studio capacity at Rockstar. Since most of your high selling games are, Rockstar related, Grand Theft Auto, Bully, Max Payne, you know, things like that. Like these games are way more prominent than 2K. You know what I'm saying? So it's you essentially would want to invest more into Rockstar, so then that way you could effectively have a team that could work on remakes of older games. Similarly to Capcom, Capcom has a team dedicated to making just the Resident Evil mainline games, and then they also have a team that's just solely dedicated to making remakes. You know, so I mean, effectively, that could be the choice that you could do, but unfortunately, you just out here like re-releasing terrible not terrible games, but you're re-releasing games that you didn't do anything to, or re-released a game that you completely like bastardized. It's just like it doesn't make any sense. um but then they go on to kind of reinforce their statements on this essentially, and his specific quote was that that's just what we believe is the commercially accurate price for it. So you want commercially accurate. Of course, those words, typically mean like, oh, this is the current market value at which, remakes are being, sold for, or ports are being sold for. So we're just going to charge you a game. We're going to charge you $50 today's price for a game that, doesn't meet today's standards, essentially. Like there's no like graphical enhancements, anything like that. Like they're essentially just taking the 4K port that they had way back in the day and just reselling it to you. But the original remaster, you can actually still go purchase though, which is also still kind of funny. Like it's not like the original remaster just doesn't exist. You can effectively go get the other remaster that's not coming to PS4 or Nintendo Switch, the new one. So I mean, like it would have made more sense, me personally, if they would have just, you know, got the got Red Dead Redemption, completely remade it from the ground up. You don't have to change the story or anything like that. You don't got to change the character models. I mean, you don't even have to go as far as like Capcom and Resident Evil changing the entire character model of, Leon, Jill, and Claire Redfield, or even Chris. You don't even have to change the face models, but you could essentially just remake, all of it from the ground up and have it specifically built from the ground up for PS5, Xbox Series X and S and PC. You know, but yeah, they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do that. They didn't, they thought they could skirt away, because this is what I said before in my last video, that Rockstar continues to skirt through negativity because of the success of Grand Theft Auto, and that's just that has just been a kind of common grace given to them because of you know because of Grand Theft Auto 5 and the game that they made, or just even their previous games. But in this particular thing, I'm kind of glad they're not able to kind of skirt through negativity like that, you know. But I mean, it could also just be like too, they just don't really care. They don't really care. It's like, it doesn't matter. Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out. They're going to buy it, regardless. They're going to buy it, and it's going to be the biggest thing that hit the stores. Which is unfortunate, because no lessons can be learned because of that. But we also have another spokesperson. Don't know what her position is at Take-Two, but Hannah Sage from Take-Two also defended the $50 price tag and explained that the port includes Undead Nightmare in addition to the base game. According to Hannah Sage, Undead Nightmare was a great standalone game in its own right when it was originally released. Oh, was it now? So it was a great standalone game in its own right, but you didn't release it standalone, did you? It came sold and marketed as a DLC to Red Dead Redemption. And on top of that, it's it's effectively I think if I'm not mistaken, Undead Nightmare was only about an additional maybe 10 hours of gameplay. Um and it was just like a zombie apocalypse type of thing, and all it did was add new enemy types, new character models, things like that, new animals, new guns. I think it also may have offered like a new location from my memory, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think that entire game mode is the justification to making this game today $50. That's not a good justification. Um, so it's like you can't justify repackaging a 13-year-old game and then trying to sell it to us at today's prices when it doesn't meet today's standards. So it's just it's like I said, the thought process behind it is ridiculous. But I guess apparently she just wants to be like, hey, well, it's justifiable because we have the whole Undead DLC part was more so just a standalone game in its own right, so you guys should just love it anyways. You should just take it at face value. Don't ask questions. Just be consumers. We don't want you to be customers. We want you to be consumers. Just consume as we provide. And I'm glad people are not going for that kind of shit. It's great to see. But yeah, man, things got over like it's got like 226k dislikes, man. Definitely don't buy this. Do not buy this. Like, I never tell people to not buy things. I tell people to just do what they want to do, just make an educated decision and do enough research on whatever you want to purchase. But I'm specifically telling you with this, do not buy this. It is a waste of your time. It is a waste of your time. You can go get it for $10 probably at GameStop somewhere you probably can get it for $5 somewhere in a bin. You go get it in a bin somewhere or whatever like that, bro. It's like it's not $50 worthy today, in my opinion. But yeah, moving on though, we have some additional information from Rockstar. This will be the last piece of information that I have. It's been a crazy Rockstar week, man. But this is one good thing that I can say Rockstar has done, and I wanted to point this out because it's important. So roleplay community update, Cfx.re joins Rockstar Games. So they go on to say today we're proud to announce the Cfx.re, the team that's behind biggest Rockstar roleplay and creator communities 5M and Red M, are now officially part of the Rockstar Games. That is great because that gives modders the opportunity to be able to have influence in a larger capacity with Rockstar, so then that way you can be able to have like these great RPG servers, man. Like these great role playing servers, man, are amazing. And 5M is one of the largest ones. I'm not too familiar with Red M, but typically when I play in the role play servers, I typically play within 5M's servers. So I mean, like, yo, like this is good news. This is good news for anybody that wants more additional detailed aspects added to Grand Theft Auto. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe, like maybe maybe Grand Theft Auto like 6 isn't, detailed enough for you. Like you want more realism added to your game and stuff like that. Like this is where all of that happens. This is where all that happens after you've exhausted the single player, after you've exhausted the multiplayer and everything like that. And the great thing is like I'm pretty sure the role playing servers can probably be, on. They'll probably have more support because I know a lot of the times the 5M servers are just like typically like dead sometimes and stuff like that because people have to work or whatever, so you have to find the right kind of times to be on, and they're not necessarily like the biggest or whatever, and they don't typically come at release. They typically come a little bit later on after the game has been out for a while and stuff. So I know like with this they may actually put these role playing servers in the mainline Grand Theft Auto servers. And if this is actually, another good thing that could come out of this is actually, console players can have access to these servers as well, because typically the 5M servers are all PC exclusive, you know. because you have to actually go to a website and everything like that, sign up and do an application and stuff like that. But now, since they're part of Rockstar Games now, they may have more influence in some of the decision making, even in the mainline game, to kind of help, with development in that as well, probably post launch, But yeah, I mean, this is a good thing all around. I'm excited for it, man. I can't wait for it. You know, I wanna, I wanna see more of this from Rockstar. I want to see more game developers include modders into the development, because modders are what continues to keep games going after they've released. Like after games have hit their stride, the modding community is what keeps games alive after the fact. So I love modders so much. I love modders so much, and I want to see more modders get deals like this, so that way they can be able to have more of an influence in maybe a game's actual development. You know what I'm saying? So this is great, man. Congratulations to Cfx.re, man, and five in the 5M and Red M servers, man, and that whole community, that whole modding community. Yeah, this is just a great thing to have, man. I'm excited for it. But moving on, we have some information about the Hitman and the Hitman devs and their 007 upcoming game. So apparently this game was revealed back in 2020. IO Interactive, who, if you guys don't know, they're the developers behind all the Hitman games. Hitman games are amazing. I love the Hitman lore and everything too. But yeah, so they kind of give us a little bit of tease on this game. And it's not too much. I'm going to talk about it briefly, because I just, this is just a little bit of information that has come out since the initial launch of the trailer, because it was, or the teaser trailer, because it was, they've just been radio silent, so you haven't heard anything from them. But they kind of give a little hint, which effectively they say, oh, they can't say too much, but yeah, they effectively say just, 007 is under development. It's looking very cool. It's great. It lets us know that it's still alive. It's not just dead in development hell somewhere, You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like, this is good news. But they kind of go on to say that one of the more important bits is that it's going to tell the story of the first Bond and how he became the secret agent. And I think that'll be a very interesting story, man. Because I always wondered if Sean Connery, I can't remember the first 007 movie, but I don't think they showed like him being like young Bond, like in a training facility, I suppose, or whatever like that, and what his original story was. I just know that Sean Connery was the very first 007, and when I think when I watched the first one, I went back and started watching some of the older 007 movies with him in it and stuff like that. It was kind of more so just like jumping into him already being, James Bond being 007 and stuff like that, and him already having all of the skills and the, the charisma and stuff like that. And you don't get to really see that side of James Bond yet. So I'm hoping, man, that the story ends up being great. I mean, they do really good with the Hitman story and stuff like that. I know maybe it may have like a more darker tone, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Since the Hitman games are, pretty dark, in some, iterations of them. But this is, good news, man. Like, one thing I do hope, though, I hope they don't do third person. I stick with the original first person way of playing 007 games, because all 007 games have been first person. I think from my recollection, all 007 games have always been first person. So I hope they stick with the first person elements of it. I understand that it may be easier for them to do third person, because all of the games that most of the games that they've worked on have been Hitman games, and all of those games are third person games. So me personally, I would rather see like a first person shooter, but if it makes for easier development, then third person may be the way to go, and maybe they can make that work. But yeah, man, this is some exciting news, man. I'm excited for this new development with 007, and I can't wait for it. But Moving on though, we have some more information. And Lords of the Fallen offers 1080p 60 FPS or 40 FP 1440, sorry, 30 FPS modes. Um, and this is specifically going to be on the Xbox Series X and S and PS5. Pretty sure PC. I mean PC. You can push it past that. You know what I'm saying? You can get 4K 60 depending on what kind of GPU you have. But yeah, man, I just wanted to highlight this because the main reason why I wanted to highlight this specifically is because there may be some like for console players who sit back and just being like, oh man, 1080p sucks, man. This is ridiculous. You need to have 4K. Look, understand this when I say this. 1080p 60 FPS still looks really good. I've noticed over the years that, man, like resolution is very minuscule when it comes to how nice a game can look. Like playing a game at 1080p 60 FPS or 1080p 120 FPS makes a big difference. In my opinion, I think 1080p 60 FPS looks better than 1440p 30 FPS. In my opinion, because you get more fluidity with the animations, the reaction time is a lot better. There's no latency and stuff like that, and you already kind of get a little bit of latency when you're playing with a controller, anyways. And on top of that, man, like what I've seen too with some of these performance modes, man, and some of these like single player games on specifically on PS5. I don't know about Xbox Series X and S yet, but specifically on PS5, like some of these quality modes are garbage. Like God of War Ragnarok's quality mode looks terrible, and the quality mode is essentially 4K 30 FPS versus 1440p 60 FPS. Um, yeah, that 4K 30 FPS looks terrible. It's all blocky, choppy, and stuff like that. It looks like delayed, like the actions look delayed. So I mean, like I'm more of an FPS, refresh rate kind of guy versus like a resolution kind of guy. Resolution doesn't really mean too much to me because I've seen the noticeable differences between 60 FPS, 30 FPS, 120, and 165. And yeah, the better the frames per second and the refresh rate, the better looking the game is, and the better, in my opinion, the animations and stuff look, because it feels and looks more reactive, in my opinion. But one thing I also wanted to point out too with this though is that the performance mode goes at 60 FPS, but 1080p resolution is upscale, so it's not native 1080p, as well as 1440p is upscale, so it's not native either. So I mean, it's not gonna look, they're doing what they can with Unreal Engine 5. I understand that this game was in development before Unreal Engine 5 officially released. But then again, I don't necessarily, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. Because Epic has already done an entire showcase on how they ported Fortnite over from Unreal Engine 4 into Unreal Engine 5. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the development started out on Unreal Engine 4. So I mean, like, you could definitely have like ported the game over to Unreal Engine 5 and maintained it. But the main point that they kind of point out and here that the information that they got from the developers was that to be able to utilize the resources of Unreal Engine 5, it would have negatively impacted the performance it had on consoles. So you always have to have a trade-off when you're developing games. There's always got to be some sort of trade-off, and I completely understand that point of view from it. But yeah, it's the game looks great, man. Like I mean, like the gameplay they've already shown from it and everything, like it looks really good. I doubt it was, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen like a trailer where it specifically says like this is running on a PlayStation 5 or this is running on a Xbox Series X or S or whatever. Like I think all of the gameplay trailers or the trailers in general have all been running or being rendered through a PC. So I mean, like PC is probably going to be the best way to go if you have a PC. I would recommend just purchasing this on PC instead of consoles, because you're probably going to get the best performance out of PC for this game specifically. But yeah, and another thing too that I kind of want to point out with this is that, like, yo man, like it's crazy that this game, as like good as it looks, can deliver 1080p 60 on, and I can deliver 60 frames per second on the Series S with its limited hardware, but Bethesda can't deliver 60 FPS. Um, Granted, it's not 1080p, but the fact that they can't deliver 60 FPS um, with Starfield, you know, like, and look, it is a grander, I guess, a game on a grander scale, but that to me, like I said, I go back to, you're creating resources that you don't need. You're utilizing resources and creating issues in a game that you don't need. You know, you could take a small galaxy and make it scalable. You know what I'm saying? You don't need 1,000 planets, but I digress. But yeah, I just thought that was like kind of dope, man. It's like, yo, well, they're making games, man, and it looks great. 1080p, 60 FPS. If you got a console, man, and you can't just get a PC, look, like I just recommend setting it to 1080p 60 FPS. It's going to look better. It's going to look better on my opinion. That also factors into the kind of monitor you're playing on too. Most console players play on TVs and stuff like that. I completely get it. Me personally, I like playing on a monitor. And it's just, for me, I think that the more condensed the screen is, because when you have so many pixels on a screen, it kind of like distorts everything, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of the time, some TVs, the refresh rate can't keep up with the amount of pixels that are on screen. And Also too, like, monitors come with the different versions of screens too. So you kind of got like the IPS monitors, the TN monitors, and then you kind of have like Samsung's monitors, which are kind of hybrid monitors between the two. You know what I'm saying? For me personally, just playing on the IPS monitor with a very low refresh rate, and we know with G-Sync available, so you can be able to run it at, you can be able to run it at high refresh rates and frame rates without necessarily having screen chopping or anything like that. So man, I think it's pretty dope. I think it's gonna be great. Definitely recommend, if you have console, 1080p 60 FPS all the way, baby. But moving on though, we have some more information that I kind of wanted to bring up, and exclusive details on PlayStation's Project Chronos cloud streaming for PS5. I thought this was pretty interesting as well. This is coming from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming. They go on to say that earlier this week, PS5's cloud streaming beta officially rolled out to some PS5 users, and whilst we were only being able to gather that the streaming will support up to 4K, they go on to say that it's understood that the development of Chronos began 5 years ago due to the complexity surrounding the PlayStation 5 solid state drive. While the solid state drive is very fast in the PS5, it created a new challenge that made it impossible for Sony to develop the infrastructure needed using current technology on the market, i.e. functionality, latency, stuff like that. This meant that Sony, under the Future Technology Group, designed a completely new network storage solution based on PCIe as well as NTB, which leverages NTB and the PS5 in and out coprocessor. So specifically what NTB is basically a non-transparent bridge, and this essentially allows isolation of two hosts or memory domains, but it enables that, but allows you to be able to have data exchange between the two subsystems. So effectively, you could be able to essentially isolate those two domains, increase the storage transfer rate between both domains of two subsystems at a very low latency time. And they kind of go on to say that the storage server, which would essentially be codenamed Kura, which reads up to 5 gigabits per second with less than 1 millisecond latency. So that's actually really good. Especially for like cloud streaming, because you're streaming a video game, which is a large, you need a lot of bandwidth for that. So 5 gigabytes per second is a lot. That's very fast data transfer as well. And then that 1 millisecond latency, which helps with your input latency, stuff like that, while you're cloud streaming. That definitely helps a lot with that too as well. So and they go on to kind of say that the sources said that the Sony will have a total of 28 data centers across 15 metros for the PS5 cloud streaming rollout, with its plans to fully launch the feature in fiscal year 23, which would effectively be between April 2023 and March 2024. So, should be looking forward to it. I guess maybe the beginning, Q1 of next year, maybe Q1, Q2 of next year. So, it's actually some exciting news, man. I'm kind of excited for this. I've been, wanting to see how Sony can compete with Microsoft and their xCloud project. So, I mean, definitely, if this information, is valid and true, and this is what the end product will be at the end of the day, this sounds really good. Granted, I know for a fact Sony is going to charge a lot more than Xbox will for xCloud. I already know this. I doubt it's going to be. I doubt it's going to be anything realistic or affordable. Like I feel like they're definitely gonna. I mean, they may offer like 3 tiers. Three subscription tiers, and I'm pretty sure the starting one is going to be $20. The only way that this could technically be really worth it and stuff like that is if they bundled if they bundled this particular cloud streaming service with the online services, so like the PlayStation Plus services. And if they bundled that, I wouldn't mind paying maybe $120 a year, for online connectivity and access to my games, as well as cloud streaming as well. So I mean, that could definitely work. But knowing Sony, they won't do anything pro consumer. It's always going to be maybe 3 subscription tiers, so you'll continue to pay that $60 if you have the Essentials PlayStation Plus. You'll pay that per year, as well as pay an additional fee for the cloud streaming, which I'm pretty sure they may start off maybe with a $20 tier, and then it'll go up from maybe 20 to maybe 40, and then maybe on up to maybe $80 or $60, something like that. So you'll effectively be paying maybe $120 a year anyways. So I mean, yeah, I'm I'm excited for this, man. This is great news. But yeah, man, that's it for today. Pretty short one today, man. I'm on vacation, so I'm trying to keep some of these things short and everything like that. But if you guys enjoyed the content today, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more, and make sure you hit that bell, man, so you never miss a video. Check me out next week. I'll drop all my videos 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. And yeah, man, thank you for tuning in for another episode, and I'll see you guys next week.